I've got
We'll go
nothing.
live now. Oh,
I got
I was
nothing.
waiting. Oh, here he
Hang
is.
on.
He's
Here he
late.
is. He's the man of the
Here he is.
day.
Oh,
he's disappeared again. Look at
he's
that.
gone.
In and out.
He's
That was it. He didn't
fashionably
put
late.
much of an appearance in. My goodness.
Look, I've even got a beer ready to go to open on this celebration of. Oh, hang on.
You didn't email me a beer.
I was trying to create.
I didn't email you a beer. Hang on. Look at the time.
Just
look
before
at the time.
Hardy.
What do you mean before we start? We have started. You're late.
Oh, we have started. Oh, well.
Yeah.
I'm a bit late.
Oh, hang on. He's got cake. He didn't send everyone cake, did he?
Oh, yeah. We're gonna have live cake cutting in a minute. But I'll just push this out of frame for now.
That really works well for all of us.
Is it a live cake?
I'm not very organised today, but I've got a card. Look.
Oh, you've got a card. Ian, perhaps you'd explain who that looky likey of you almost is.
It's not quite a looky likey of me, but that's Chief Superintendent Jason Tingley, formerly of Sussex Police.
Now remind me, what did Jason Tingley do?
He said there might not be a drone, and then suddenly, for no reason that anyone knows, he vanished off the TV.
He lost his job.
We've never ever seen again speaking to the public. It was almost like he told the truth, and someone had said, "Well, you've just made us liable for £50 million worth of liability from civil action, so we're going to have to go. Hello, Jason. Move over here, please. Bye-bye." Like that.
And that is, very sadly, that is the truth of it. But hang on. Yeah, it is the truth of it. And poor old Jason Tingley. Let's have a look at the weather. Let's have a look at the weather. There's the weather at Redhill right now. So on this, in effect, the anniversary, it's a lovely starry night over Gatwick. It's not.
Are they stars or drones?
Are they stars? Exactly what I wanted somebody to say. Exactly. At the moment, the wind is 250 at 7 knots with 9,700 meters in clear skies. Temperature of 5, dew point of 4, humidity of 93, an altimeter of 30.15. We don't say that in the real world. We say 10.
Turn your table to the upright position.
Exactly. Yes.
Kevin Dawson manual.
Just think, 5 years ago, today,
this very second,
the wind was blowing, right? So it was blowing.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, change regulations all around the world. It's been mischaracterized everywhere. Cheers, Gatwick.
So it was absolutely, it was blowing a hoolie, bit of wind. It was peeing it down, so it was wet and windy. First two things a drone don't like. Now, what happened next, Ian?
Well, it depends where we go to, but what we do know now, because of the Freedom of Information Act, which is a brilliant piece of legislation, I'd say best legislation we have got. Without it, we've been in the dark on so many issues. It really has changed the way democracy works. It doesn't work brilliantly, but at least it's better than nothing. But yes, it has revealed that by 9:25, the National Police Air Service helicopter is taking off from Redhill, which I think is where your web camera is based.
Exactly where it was.
According to a civilian pilot that flies from there to Gatwick, he can do it in about 8 minutes. So I'm assuming the police can do it in equally as quick time. So it would have been there about 21:33. And even by the time the helicopter has got there, there is no drone to be seen. But obviously, we've all been kept in the dark all these years about, well,
look,
anything to do with
it's there now.
Yeah.
It's there right now. It's the moon, I think. But look, it's a lovely night up there, isn't it? No, I don't know where Nutfield is. Mulver, I don't know where all these other places. 21, 7.3. So what a pity I didn't think to look on the, was it the second night? I think I did a live stream because they also shut the airfield, and I didn't think to look at the webcams on the second night. I should have done that, but there we are. we live and we learn, don't we? But it's obviously a nice night in Gatwick now. But there is the Gatwick drone 2023, or we shall call it the moon, I think.
Well, we need a 3 wise men now. Oh, hey, look at the banner.
Which one of us isn't wise? And I was Scott saying the worst version of nativity. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. How do I stop sharing? Stop sharing that there. Yeah, it's
someone's got to be the virgin.
Absolutely. Yeah, I meant to have like a carrier bag on my head, or many other things to reference all the other things that have been spotted and seen. But yeah, no, it's dreadful. Now, are we going to unpack? Because if we were doing it live, we're still a couple of minutes from the helicopter lifting, aren't we?
I jumped onto that. So live, obviously, we've got the security guard. He's called in what he thinks is a drone. I know a journalist that has interviewed him and said that the guy seems sincere. So it doesn't sound like it's someone that's doing it as like for whatever motivation, a hoax or whatever. Or it seems like someone who's thought, I've seen a drone. It doesn't mean they have done. They could have mistaken something, or they could have seen. As we know now, Sussex police have got their matrice only about 13 days beforehand. For all we know, one of them could have been saying, "Let's have a play with our new toy. We've got the rain and stuff. Let's see if it's really IP rated." And then the guard saw it. Who knows? Who knows? So anyway, he either has seen a drone, or he's not seen a drone, or what's the other option? There's 3 options really. He's either seen a rogue drone, so somebody that shouldn't have been there in the first place. But who hasn't then stayed around, because we know what everything else that transpires, or it's obviously a drone that was officially part of the airport, but after it all kicked off, they then kept quiet about the fact they were there, or it's just been a genuine mistake. So it could have been any one of those, but obviously it's true. What was quite interesting though is when you've done the story today on SUS News, and you'd put the video link in from the very time, just days afterwards, of us all there 5 years ago, all looking a lot younger. I had no grey hair at all. It was like, oh, look at little young me. And even then we were saying, this is just a mistake. Even Louis was on here that doesn't like talking about Gatwick, and he was.
I know. To be honest, that was the thing that made me laugh the most. That there was Louis talking about it. Yeah, that's right. I know. And unfortunately, we've like consistently banged on about this ever since. But I was delighted that that another journalist popped his head up above the parapet today and wrote a very good piece about it, which if I was prepared, I would have linked and ready to go. But I'm not. He wrote a very fair piece about the whole thing. And it will unravel. But as I said in a message to you earlier, and I've forgotten the name completely, of the thing that's coming out in the UK for Christmas, is a documentary about post office workers that were persecuted. And to me, it feels kind of, this all looks a bit familiar. Let's bury a story. Let's make something else up and just keep blaming. It all seems very, very familiar. So now you know who's going to play you, Ian, in the Netflix thing. It'll be Toby Jones or whatever he's called. That'll be you. It's just going to nod.
I've just at the same time, I'm just arguing with somebody on Twitter that doesn't know the subject, but it's one of these that's just kind of like full conspiracy mode. So I'm just tracking him back with a few facts. It'll only be a few seconds, and then you'll have my full attention.
But we can do this all day long, really. And I felt it was a very poor show from ARPAS today, who is the UK commercial representatives of commercial operators, but really representatives of one man and his dog is what they really are. They had their meeting today about RID and their response to the consultation, and I thought that was poor form. It's kind of like I'm sure it wasn't deliberate, but maybe it was, because they're going to come out in support of it. I feel absolutely
Really?
certain. I'm sure they will. I'm absolutely certain they will. And I suspect.
I think there will be mixed views. There'll definitely people amongst them that will be for it, but I don't know whether I'm not being a part of it, so I don't know. If I'm assuming it's some kind of democracy, and there will be a vote, and if it's put down to a vote, you never know which way it'll go, because there's definitely some people in there that are level-headed and balanced, and if you could speak to them about matters such as Gatwick, and they'd be in full agreement of where things. So I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone at our past that doesn't disagree with the view, but they just won't say it, because for them, some people are licking the backside of the DFT.
Yeah.
Far more important than any other factor, fortunately.
And the problem is, if RPAS haven't got the balls to stand up and go, this isn't right, publicly, it's a bit of a shame. And there are great people in RPAS, like you say. You can
Is
speak
this James?
to them.
Is James part of RPAS? Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably. Yeah. And if they haven't got, and the sad thing is, if they're backing such a flawed system that's easy to spoof, it's got more security holes than Swiss cheese, which RPAS guys, and this is what's annoying, is there's a lot of operators in RPAS that have OSCs. Now, you have to have a security section in your OSC that says how you will protect all your kit security-wise, right? You couldn't do that for remote ID and keep a straight face, because it would just be, you just couldn't do it. It wouldn't be allowed. The CAA wouldn't allow your OSC. They just wouldn't allow it because it'd be too much of a security risk. But, it's so frustrating. It would be nice if RPAS, public came out and just said, actually, it's got too many security issues. It's a bad idea. It's flawed. And move on. But, like you all say, there are probably a few of them that just, don't want to upset the CAA or the DFT.
Hello there, Dan. And
who'd want to upset the regulator? That doesn't sound right.
No, I mean, no graffiti allowed. What did I want to say? I'm astounded that this evening I've seen somebody in America talking about RID, who is very vocal on groups and forums, and is just saying, please enable it in my controller, It's like, no, it's not in your controller. Yes, it is. Yes, no, it's not. No. And this is the American system was 2 years ago. It's supposed to happen, wasn't it? I can't exactly remember when it was.
America's doing really well. Did you see the video that Brendan posted to Twitter about someone diving the Washington Monument?
Yeah, that's done around, and unfortunately, I tell you who's pushed that around, and I won't tell you exactly who's pushed it around, but the group that I think might have even paid for that to happen, and that's counter UAS vendors, have said, look what they can do. And to me, it's like, oh, okay, that did rather advance your narrative somewhat. So,
but if someone's going to do that, they're not going to put remote ID on a drone to do that with, are they? I mean, seriously, it's just a joke.
No, but it's there to for the counter UAS vendors to say, look, they can even go to the heart of the country, the heart of the capital, and do this.
Fun.
These terrible peoples. Yeah, it's Happy Gatwick Day.
Imagine as well, you can even get cars down those very same roads.
Yes. No. Well, is that list known? Again, I should have prepared and spoken to him before we started. But there is a list of the police of what the potential infractions in that 1,800 odd incidents. Was it 1,800?
Yeah, we should get what we can do later on is we can go to the freedom of information. We can read that out and air, and then just get everyone to think about. You could do the same thing for cars. You could do the same thing for knives. You could even do the same thing for fireworks, and you could put a lot of scary stuff in there. Fire emergency services could have somebody's eye out. There's everything you can do against drones. You could do far more against any other technology. Things we just take is
So
granted all day.
in the UK, there's some consultants that have come out. So we've got this number. I think it's 18,000. Ian, correct me if I'm wrong. Something like that. 18,000 incidents, and they said the incidents were this, but it's so granular. It's like, that's impossible. How can you possibly know that? Because the incidents they're referring to are incidents reported to the police. And there's no way Joe Public is called hello police. This is an infraction of Article 47, 43.7 of the 97th. It's just, each thing is like, it's no way. It's no way.
They've done two things. They've gone and taken the incident number, and then they've had a word with the MPCC team and said, can you just give us some bullet points of things you've ever come across? And when they could ever come across, that could be just one instance they've ever come across in their entire career, and that's jotted down there. So that's just that's their scary summary along with the figure. But it's worth adding that figure of 18,000 is over 3 years, so it's 6,000 a year. Now I'm told by somebody in the know, very much in the know, that actually you will find, if you analyse that 6,000, there'll be about 200 cases there max that the police have actually had to be involved, where they've said, they had to have a word with somebody, or maybe they've even had a caution. But even still, when it gets down to the CPS, we'll still be looking at probably single figures, double figures maximum. I've already done a freedom of information for 2022, but they didn't answer me entirely. Using the air navigation order for that entire year, 0. But I've just said, can you check the new legislation as well? Because the chances are it would have been done under that. So it'll be about 30 days before, 20, 30 days before I get that back. But then I'll have the figure. But I expect it'll be under 10. So as we know, there is no case. That figure is meaningless.
But did you see the auditor that got pinged for flying BV loss? And it turned into a giant pissing contest between the policeman's drone and the auditor's little Mavic Mini. Have you seen that one? It's so funny. I'm going to put a video up. I'm just doing a video now, which will be up.
Busted
in a few hours. Yeah, but it's actually really, really funny. But it shows that the police are right onto it, and enforcement's going to be a bigger problem as we move forward, because there's probably money to be made.
Well, that's
told to do something, haven't they? The police are, have been told to do something. Problem is, our police force here, they can't deal. You can walk into a shop, and as long as it's about £100 worth, under £100 worth of value, you can walk out of the shop. The shops now have to employ security officers because the police won't come and deal with it. It's ridiculous.
But they want to automate it all. That's why, as Ian's saying, this link to this big defence system, it just automates the whole process. You flew too high, you flew too far. You got a Mini 2, you flew beyond 80 meters. That's BV loss. It's going to make it so simple. It becomes, that's how they support the cost of the infrastructure, by just pinging everybody with all the fines.
Yeah. But they don't know. They support the cost of the infrastructure by making the user pay for it. And DJI, what's it? DJI, I reckon in America it was going to be like $10 a month.
It was. So basically, FAA said it was going to cost 500 million, and the DJI put serious money into getting proper experts in, did an entire paper, costed it all out, and said, no, your plans by the end are going to cost 2 billion, so 4 times as much. And so when you spread that out over all the users, you're going to be
FAA's pricing is always perfect. Look at the remote ID modules, $50.
Yeah,
they were so
bang on. This Bob on right. Well again, this bloke today didn't realise he's got to have a module in his aircraft. No, ground controller. No, come on. And we're 18 months into this. We should know. And unfortunately, this is so we've banged on about Gatwick for 5 years, and we've banged on about RID for nearly as long. I think it can't be. It must be close on that. And we've seen what's happened in America, and most of it we said, this is what's going to happen. And guess what? It has happened. And now it's potentially, so the European one isn't as bad. It's nowhere near as bad as the potential UK one. The UK one is dreadful, with network and radio, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi versions. It's all the problems, and it's going to stop you flying. And I guess nobody watches. That's the problem. But we're only ranting, aren't we? But it's going to, mark my words, we're going to see all the things we've moaned about roll out again. But wait, there's more. In the UK, it's worse. I was looking for my little toy one. Everyone's going to have to take the test, and without. Everyone's going to have to take a test. Children, that little foamy thing, anything remote control that you buy in the toy shop, it all comes into it. It's ridiculous.
As we always say, though, if we can reduce that death toll by just one, we'll have done a good job.
Well,
you're right.
Or was that an accident?
What's that?
You said ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. No, it's planned. Everything I do is planned. It's in the script. Have you not reading the script?
I mean, I got a little bit told off for fear mongering on the BMFA Facebook group.
Yes.
Because they're worried about it putting off their older membership, their members, and they were saying, "Oh no, clubs won't get it. Club sites won't get it." What's going on in the background? Are we going to end up with something like freers, like in America?
It's very clear in the discussion document.
It's clear. It's coming.
Scary bit.
Yeah. And if you look at things, the FAA wanted to age those out over 4 years. But of course, that was removed after the consultation. But that is still the end game. And it will be the end game everywhere. They just want to get rid of everything. It's too much of a hassle having people flying toy planes in a field somewhere because goodness knows what could happen. Let's just clear them out completely because dollars.
Yeah, I'm just trying.
I was saying, before we continue, can we do the cake? The cake cutting.
Yes, I'm hungry.
No, you can't because how are you going to share it? I mean, that's just because he's having a cake.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
If anyone wants a piece of cake, just email Ian and he'll send it out to you. No charge.
That is the cake.
If you've been watching on Twitter, we've actually had a few cakes and competitions go out to people. So we've had Gatwick Joan Day cakes. Obviously, we've got Jason Tingley here, and I thought, well, let's have a bit of a taste at what Jason Tingley tastes like.
Oh no!
Are your lips going to go all tingly?
So here we go. Yum yum, nom nom nom. Here we go.
Tingly cake. Whose birthday is it? And how did Jason taste?
So I'm getting a definite hints of panic.
Demonetized.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's confusion.
Yeah.
Oh. There's definitely a hint of scapegoat. Definitely.
But I suspect you detected a touch of honesty there as well.
Yes.
A touch of truth telling. A touch of actually he's the hero of his hour because he fell on his sword. In effect, he told the truth. And that was him. So actually, he is our cape, and not he is our cape. He's a cake. Not all heroes wear a cape, and Tingley is our hero.
Yeah, I guess he's a bit of hero and villain in that the police would have seen him as being responsible for the fact there was the initial panic. I think if we were to look at this fair, as we've said in the past, I don't blame the police for what happened initially because they were relying on the airport and you would trust the airport to be giving you robust and solid information. So if they say there's a drone, you're going to take them at the value. And bearing in mind they've not experienced this before, you've got to accept that there will be some confusion and things won't go as smoothly as they should and you'd learn some lessons. But where it's gone wrong is the moment they've decided to shut up Jason Tingley and said, no, they doubled down. They got the spade out and they said, let's dig this hole even bigger. Let's dig it as big as we can. And then just hope at the end that nobody starts asking questions and nobody uses that freedom of information thingamajig and so on. So, at the point they started digging, that's where it went wrong. If at that point they'd have just backed Jason Tingley up and said, actually, they might not have done. It's not our fault. We've relied on the airport. This is new. We're going to go away. We're going to do learning. Nobody would have had an issue with that. You can have some of the papers criticize. That's what papers do. But coming out of that, and especially if your government departments then back them up, everyone would have moved on. And, we wouldn't even be talking about it now. You've been on issue.
So
Well,
Just remind me of just remind me of the photographer that took the photo of the lights in the sky, Ian.
What's that? Sorry.
The photographer with his zoom lens. What did he take a photo of those lights in the sky?
That very same helicopter that was dispatched from Red Hill to look for the drone.
And do you know what? Here we are at 23:25. The helicopter is arriving on scene now.
No. It's literally taking off now.
It's taking off now. As it's launching.
Yes.
Let's go live to Red Hill just to make sure that the weather's okay for that. Keep talking. I've got to find the right camera. Let's see if we can see the helicopter launching as we go.
Did your cake turn up?
No.
Oh, I'm not happy with that.
Otherwise, I would show you my cake.
No, there's no helicopter there now, but it does look a nice night in Red Hill this year. There's no helicopter launching. That is the helicopter hangars on the other side there. That's those two lights that we're looking at. But it's in bed. The helicopter is still in bed.
I mean, and what was that air traffic? Well, who was the person that worked at Gatwick and says, "Oh, if they knew the truth."
That wasn't an air trafficker. That was the civil servant who retired, and I can't remember his name. But we have, I mean, from that. That's why I put that thing at the bottom of the article today, was because we were just going, "Oh, this is rubbish. This is rubbish," 5 years ago, and dancing around it all. But because of Ian's efforts, we know so much more now. Ian has been poking the bear for 5 years. I'm not sure in our lifetime that mine anyway, maybe you and Ian's, and I don't know, you and me, Bruce, I think we're out of it. Sorry, mate. But because it's 25 years, isn't it? The first time it will come out if it's been hidden. I think it's 25 years. I
think we'll find out who shot Kennedy before then.
Yeah, exactly. But the truth will come out one day, and it is going to look badly. And as Ian's intimated, the police, hopefully, the police has taken a bucket load of learnings from this. And the next time there's an incident like this, I'll have a much better communication plan and a much better way around it. And to me, it was the CIA. And I wonder if they had a cake. To me, it speaks to as a different company at the time, but now Nats has already had to close Gatwick a couple of times because of poor manning. There's other things in the mix here. It's not just potentially it was a drone. So I think. Go on, Mark. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say we've got to remember this went on for 3 days, Gatwick, didn't it? And remind me how long a drone can fly for again?
Well, it can fly
5
every
years.
day, all day, multiple times. Delicious tingly cake. Yes, that's right, Gorgat.
But you're talking something that can fly for 20, 30 minutes typically back then. So 20, 30 minutes typically back then. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I know technology's jumped on now, you can do 40-minute flights, but how can it be that you can an airport could be shut down on one sighting or a couple of supposed sightings for 3 days when an aircraft can only fly back then for about 25 minutes? It's astounding.
Yeah, but it was, remember there was the reports of not only was there lights in the sky, but there were drones flying between the buildings. And obviously they had clear and obvious knowledge of exactly how the whole place was laid out, and therefore it must have been a massive security. It was very, I think the Americans call the story Henny Penny, and we call the story Chicken Licking, where the sky's falling in, It's the acorn on the head thing. It fed itself, didn't it? It was. I can't. There's all sorts of examples over history.
Everybody loves a Christmas story. Everybody loves
a Christmas story. Yes.
Apparently, they're doing the movie. It's called Fly Hard.
Fly Hard. Oh, you've got the name for it. That's it, Ian. Make a note, Ian. That is the name for the Netflix special, Fly Hard. It's exactly it. But But imagine all the changes that it's invoked around the world. Every single counter UAS company has used it as a reason to be. Every single regulator, New Zealand particularly, keeps bringing it up, I think. Everybody is using it as a great big hammer to smack the industry, and there was nothing there. So, okay, it happened 5 years ago, but I reckon it probably has put the industry back 10 or 15 years to where we could actually be now.
The good thing that's come from it is that we can see there's a narrative rather than a fact-based campaign here. That they're scratching the bottom of the barrel. They continue to write this narrative, even though it's been widely disproven. They're not backing away from it. So they don't have anything else they can bring to the party. The people that want to introduce all this draconian change to protect us from these drones and the counter UAS companies, this is all I've got. So they're sticking with it, which means they don't have a lot. Okay,
so you need to help me a little bit with that. That's how you see that as positive. But then, so how do we? But surely for that to be something we can use, we need to prove there was nothing there.
The burden of proof is on the people who make the assertion. If you say something happened, the burden of proof is on you, not on people to disprove that. So we turn that around and say, where is your proof? We've yet to see the proof. That you can't just say, because you prove that the world doesn't end tomorrow. Well, you can't do that now, can you? But you need to, you always prove the positive, not the negative.
That's the frustration with the CAA, because I've got the freedom of information at the moment. Because I asked them at the time, well, I said at the time, it was a few years ago, I said, come on, what evidence do you have to back up the drone? Have you got a description? And then, and this was a concern, instead of just being straight, they tried to fob me off and said, we employ too many staff, it's such a big team, we'd never be able to find that information. What they didn't know, and this is the trouble, when you start lying, you don't know what lies you've said before. They've done a freedom of information before and said, our team's so very small, we can target the freedom of information to them, ask them. So I cited their own previous freedom of information at them and said, wait a minute, we both know you're not being straight with me. At that point, they said, it was like, oh, well, fair enough, we'll move on. And I was like, then fair enough, we'll move on. And then they said, yeah, we haven't got a description. Well, I've asked everyone, we haven't got it written down. And by saying asked them, it suggests it's not in the heads either. I mean, be honest, you would not forget Gatwick if you were working on it. And the thing that was actually frustrating was making out there's so many people on it. That's not true, because the DFT recorded it themselves. Every single agency had one point of contact, and then there was kind of a backup for potential Christmas leave if it went on. But really, there was direct points of contact, so that it was all in somebody's head at each organisation of what was going down with Gatwick. So the CAA know all along, and they've tried to distance themselves. They weren't involved, but they were on the bleeding daily calls with everyone else. They were involved, whether they like to admit it or not. Obviously they haven't. They're not really organising anything. They're just there as probably as an observer, and maybe even for opinions. But the point of the matter was, they're involved with it. They claim, they're supposed to be an expert on the drone space because they're representing it. They're supposed to be giving us regulations. If you're doing that, you have to know the topic. If you know the topic, there isn't a drone bleeding well flying around for 2 days in all weather, in front of cameras, not being recorded, in front of radar, in front of thermal, in front of RF, not being recorded. You know that is false. So it frustrates me they're still using it. But I've gone back now again and said, well, given you've used this in CAT 2610, that hints that if you're using that, you're either using it knowing it's not credible and just, we'll use it anyway, or you've got some proof since and you think you can back this up. So I'm saying, well, can you tell me, have you got any proof since? And then they're going straight into can neither confirm nor deny, which means no, we don't, but we're going to dick you about rather than being straight about it. And yeah, they will find out that because I've now been dragged through this for 5 years, I know the whole process, I know it all the way to tribunal, I can represent myself. It's not going to cost me a penny in legal fees, but it'll be their legal team's going to have to deal with it if they take it that far, but I'm going to go that far with it. I've asked a straight question. It deserves a straight answer. They're using the narrative. They didn't have to use it. They have chosen to use it. Back it up. They're guilt tripping the industry, and I've been doing it for 5 years with the DFT. And it's time for it to stop. It's put up or shut up. Enough. There we go, Ranny.
Well, the interesting thing is, though, because you will be the hero in the Netflix documentary that will come. But we're going to get to the point where everybody in those chairs of power will have changed. If you just wait another year or two, every head will have rotated around, and it will be different people you're asking the questions to. So those lies are going to get harder and harder and harder to perpetrate, because none of them will have been in the room. Andrew says really got active lying. Andrew, I think that partly is the reason why a lid is firmly being shut on this, is because if there is responsibility on the part of Gatwick or the police, the compensation that they'll have to pay to the passengers and airlines is pretty huge. Scott Harris, definitely.
I have spoken to people involved in it. I've spoken to people in the and in the. So I've got accounts. I know what's actually on the bleeding. The witness statements of what it is. There wasn't a drone there. No one can describe it. If they could, there'd be a description there. It's not with the police. It's not with the DFT. It's not with the CA. No one has a description because they all see in lights. You can actually look at the account. You can see what the DFT have redacted over the years and thought that we've got out from the Home Office, and it all clearly shows police seeing transiting aircraft, nav lights, calling it in, RAF saying, wait a minute, there isn't anything there, and eventually all clicking and everyone going home and having cake and tea. So no, there wasn't a drone there. You can anyone. I've spoken to enough people involved and are close enough in it that is absolute. And Philip has as well. It was on last week. I mentioned it. There wasn't a drone there. The very most is there could have been something for the first few minutes that kicked it all off, and then it's gone to stupidness. At the end of the day, what we've seen with the freedom of information, we haven't gone too much on, but the National Police Air Service, thankfully, they're not under the command of Sussex Police. They're under the command of West Yorkshire Force. And I just wish I'd have asked sooner. But West Yorkshire Force, obviously, because they're not under their command, they can speak freely. They don't have to cover anything up. And they have said that the crews that were flown out in the helicopters did not see a drone, and they're in the best position. They're up in the air. They know the airspace. They know the difference between a drone and another helicopter. And more importantly, they're fit with the thermal imaging camera, and this is military grade stuff. This is several £100,000 worth of kit. And to add to this, which is on Gary's story, on SUS News, and they've got the video there. Yes, but I mean, you put it on for us. But a month before Gatwick, which falls brilliant in for this, the MPAS helicopter was out, spotted a drone at night, and you see it using the equipment, following the drone, and they got a prosecution. So the MPAS, if there was a drone there, would have seen it, it'd have had it on camera, would have had the video would have been with Sky News and the BBC, and the person would be in cuffs now. And what it actually shows, and I was surprised this information came out freely with all the fighting I've had, but we've got the entire missions. So we've got the takeoff, we've got the landings, we've got the base. By day 2, they were so organised, they had the helicopters on continual rotation. At some point, something serious else has kicked off, and they've had to redeploy one of the helicopters to deal with that. And as soon as they did that, to make sure there was no gap, they even got a helicopter over from near Oxfordshire, and Benson base, and brought that across to cover it. So that entire second day, when they're going, the drone's buzzing about, it's there.
Yeah,
the helicopter it isn't there. It's there. Yeah. It's in freedom of information. It is now. That's why it's even more sillier today than it was when we talked about it last week or the week before.
Yeah,
I have to say, amazing work by Ian. It's absolutely amazing work by Ian. It's astounding. But it makes it laughable when the likes of the CAs using Cat 2610, whatever, they're trying to sell a narrative. You've been caught, basically, the DFT, the CAA, Sussex Police, we've caught you with your trousers around your ankles.
You can see now why they want to ban bulldogs, eh?
So there's exactly. Are you seeing this? I'm not seeing whether this is.
Yes, we are. Yeah,
But there's the
hasn't seen it already. This is directly from Freedom of Information from West Yorkshire Police that command National Police Air Service. They've been completely transparent, just as everyone else should have been, and they've put year times on there so we can see 21:25. So that's 25 minutes after that security guard saw it. The helicopter is taking off. About 8 minutes or so later, that's going to be there over Gatwick. It has then stayed there until presumably it's had to go back because no more fuel left at 22:53. And then next day, we've got the Red Hill, Lippets Hill, Benson used to keep continual coverage over Gatwick. See, there you've got your skilled crews. Day in, day out, they're used to chasing stuff, to finding stuff with a camera and nothing. And then we can see, actually, the important point here is if you notice on day 2 at the end at 21:18, and then they've gone away at 21:42. This is when the RAF came in and they brought in Falcon Shield, and they brought Falcon Shield in with more than one thermal optical fancy PTZ head thing. So that was effectively replacing the capability of the helicopter in that they had 360 coverage. I suspect we could see there was just a couple of deployments they've asked for the helicopter after that. That's probably where someone thinks they've seen a drone and it's been further out, or there's been a building or something that's blocking the EO head on the Falcon Shield. So they probably just said, can you just double check it with the helicopter while you're there? But we can see they've stopped the complete helicopter coverage once the RAF's turned up, because it's like, well, we've got the real deal military kit here now. You know, there you go. Oh, and this reveals as well, by 23rd, they've completely given up. Everyone's gone home for Christmas, and they're quite sure there is no drone to be worrying about.
Not everyone got home for Christmas.
But no, not everyone. But there are other assets that on the second night when they said it was happening, and I just happened to be here, so I started live streaming the ADSB. I haven't even looked at that video. But there are other assets, and I'll say no more than that did not move. I was looking for the other assets. If it was very serious, other assets would have moved, and they didn't. And that to me said, nah. Can I see a thermal? Yeah, Cool Cat. Can it see it? Funny you should say that, Cool Cat, because let me go back to this one. Let's have a look, because here is this going to stream the video?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
okay.
Now, funnily enough, I've asked West Yorkshire Police for the original quality of this. So
there it is.
In HD goodness, but they are unfortunately fighting that at the minute. There's no need for them to be worried with it. All I wanted to show was just how clearly you can see the thermal signature on a drone. Now here, this is the pilot's choice. You can change it so it's black on white or white on black. I think white on black's easier to see, but he's just flicking between the modes here. You'll see they actually put the flashlight on in a minute. There we go.
Yeah, so the NPAS can see it. They do have the stuff, and the interesting thing is they have, well, one of the many interesting things, but they're all right. How do I unpack that even more?
I was just going to say, just as that was zooming in for a second, Gary, you could see the heat signature on the battery in the middle of the Phantom, and you could see the heat signature on the motor. So this is how the Falcon Shield works as well. You see there? It actually locks on to those markers on the drone so that it can track it. So once it gets within 1 kilometre, the head unit will actually track the drone all the way in if it comes any closer.
There are some people in this story that have been fast to answer freedom of information requests and have been very open and honest, and because they've nothing to hide. And then there's others that have been a bit less reliable, would you not say, Ian?
Yeah, Sussex Police are just, they're impossible. The DFT are then the worst, second worst behind them. I find that frustrating with the DFT, because the DFT, again, they should be representing transport us. They shouldn't be protecting Gatwick Airport and the police, one police force. They should be. And again, the thing you mentioned was people most of the people involved are now gone. They're not in, they've
Yeah.
either moved entirely out of the organizations or they've moved into different roles. So everyone that's involved could actually just hold their hands up and say there was a screw up, and nobody there is going to be responsible for it. No one's head's going to roll because they're not the same people.
They're gone.
And that frustrates me that now, if any time is the time you can go be straight and say, look, we got it wrong. We apologize. Let's move on. And if they did do that, we would all move on. We just want to say, stop. You've busted our balls enough now. Just lay off and move on.
Well, then we can move on to what I would now like to present, because this is what can I? Let's see. Because this is really
stuff.
Well, yes.
Okay.
This is a consultation video, isn't it? Because if as we believe to be the case, the sapient sensor system becomes a system of choice, and you happen to ride through London with a weapon in your hand on a horse with a bird, you're going to flag up several points of the AI that's connected to this. And
I just want to add at this point, Gary, this is also an excuse for you to show off your newfound joy using AI.
Yes, and I completely blame you. It's your fault. I'm quite proud of this one, though. It's quite a good one. But the AI is trained to look for horses, which is extraordinary. Obviously, it's trained to look for weapons, drones, birds, which I find quite interesting, and location. So this is where you would not want to be a pirate anymore. And I don't think, I mentioned, I touched on it earlier, I don't think folks in the UK are realizing quite how serious this console. Well, the decision's already been made, but this you have to have your voices heard for this consultation. At least fill it out. Please do not generically fill it out with the BMFA or the FBV crowd's answers, but use their answers as guidance, because if you fill it out generically, it'll get chucked away. They won't. If you just do those standard answers, they'll chuck it away. But
I'm doing a video with some suggestions as to how to present your response, so that'll be a full video on its own.
I do think, although the decision, as far as I'm concerned, has been made, I think if there's enough pushback, it's going to cause difficulty, because what they were hoping, and I think you need to get those I'll put it in a chat in a minute, Gary, and we'll bring it up and look at it. But I think what they were hoping was using the scary bias stats and points that we'd all roll over as after Gatwick, and we'd all feel guilty that someone had been naughty and it was all our faults, and we'd just take any crap on the chin. That they were thinking we can just pull this all again. And now it's different, because we know how the game is played, because we've seen it, and going straight in with the freedom of information, that their words are there for people to see. And if you look at that now and you push back, but basically the game's exposed. We know what they're doing. For people that don't know, and we'll do it shortly, there's certain words being used by certain people, and it's to have influenced us all into feeling that we needed to accept it, where we can say now, no, your argument's valid. We know invalid. We know where you're coming from, and at least then they're going to have to force it out on an entire community that's saying, "Sod off, we don't want it. We know what your game is," and that's going to be a lot harder.
Well, and also it's important that people do say this, because the consultation becomes public record forevermore. And if we're all calling them out, or enough of us call them out, it's there. We know you are pulling strings that you shouldn't. We know the game you're playing. They're going to go, oh, crap. That's actually public record now.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you were to go to a fancy dress party this new year in London, don't go, because also the thing with this is, and the sapient sensors is, it's not really about us drones. It's about getting more sensors into a broader network. We're just a little part of of a bigger thing. And if we can scare people into thinking they're needed, it's going to help the entire system. So if you're in the UK and you sell CCTV cameras, routers, lots of stuff that the military might use, the military will say to you, "Oh, we'd love it to be Sapient compliant. If it, we'll definitely buy it from you if it's Sapient compliant." So, but Bruce and I and all of us, we can't afford to make two different things, one for the civilian market, one for the military market. So we'll sell these ones to the military, and then you'll buy that router as well, or that camera, or that whatever, and that will be contributing data to this Sapient system overall. Am I wrong? I think that's...
Well, I'd say potentially, but we don't know.
Potentially.
I mean, to be honest, it doesn't cost them any more. They can just leave it there, or they could even put it there turned off. But yeah, I think there's always this thing of saying China's doing this, even whether it is or it isn't. They thought, it's just definitely thought, wouldn't it be nice?
Exactly. Thought, oh, that was a good idea. We best do that. That was a really good idea. Yeah. Why aren't we doing it? Yeah.
Well, I'll put the link in for you, Gary, so you can click it to click.
Okay, I will. I'll put it up. But that's really the potential for it. And so now people today have been arguing me on LinkedIn that, oh, well, the CA haven't got time to look at this data. Nothing's going to happen. You can't possibly cover the whole country, which is true. But the one of the truths there is the CA is not looking at the data. It's the Ministry of Defence that wants the data. And
they have AI. AI is do it all automatically.
Exactly, and in no way will AI ever get the wrong person.
It never makes mistakes.
Happen.
Look at YouTube.
That's
never falsely demonetizes
What a
videos.
ridiculous conceit to even believe they could ever be wrong. Ridiculous idea. No faith at all. There you go. Well, but it's Go on. Sorry, Mark.
Well, you got to remember it also because it'll do, like you say, CCTV. So they're sucking in because we already have police vans that are very contested in this thing where facial ID. You'll walk down a street, they're going to know where you were, what time you were, all this kind of data, which we're allegedly protected from. But it won't be true soon. If Sapient gets rolled out across this country, I'll tell you what,
China is rolled out.
China is going to true. China's going to be very proud of us. You know what I mean? China is actually going to be proud of the UK and go, hang on a minute. You tell us off for monitoring our citizens? What the hell are you doing? Kind of thing. It'd be like, oh no, bravo, well done.
Do you watch Lily from Austria? Have you seen Lily's? Because apparently she was saying that insurance companies in Europe are now going to make it almost impossible to insure vehicles that are more than 10 years old, because they want to have all the new technology and it will communicate back and give them all the information they need. And that just gets integrated into a larger system run by governments. And so all your speeding tickets are automatic and all your infringements. And it's just a way to make money quicker from a government perspective. We're going to reduce taxes, but if you do 1 mile an hour over in the speed limit, you'll get a £500 fine or something. This is where we're headed. AI doing all the hard work, data being collected from everywhere, and every little infringement being penalized, unless you're a politician or the head of a social media company, every little infringement being penalized. So that's where all the money comes rolling in, and no one can complain, because if you don't do something wrong, you will not be penalized. But who doesn't do something wrong, apart from me?
No, obviously none of us, plainly. I mean, come on. Yeah,
Gary, clickety click, click, click.
Clickety click, clickety click. Oh. Hang on.
We've got an audience.
Have we got an audience? Oh, bloody hell. You don't want one of those.
So you want the attachments on this one first, I think. So do show all attachments and see what we've got.
All right, I'm doing that, and then I've got to go share this tab instead. Oh, here we are. Are you seeing the right one? Because I'm not looking at. I can't see.
Yeah. It's this. So you want to scroll down to the individual message to link to, because there's quite a bit going on to and fro here.
So I'd like the source of
accidentally. Not all the attachments ended up getting attached, and then I had to say,
"Oh no! That must have that's just that happens. That happens.
It is Christmas parties, all that sort
of stuff. It is
Christmas,
yeah.
So keep going.
You just I'm not seeing you now. Name parties only.
Yeah, you'll have to scroll down quite a lot, I suspect, because this went backwards. I have to say, credit to the CAA; they were really quick with getting this backwards and forwards. Have a look at this one first that you're going past. This might have part of what.
Hang on, I'm trying to have both. Right.
Okay. You want the linked attachments when you go past these.
So, link. Please find the information.
Oh yeah, so go back up then. So go back up first. So this is a two-part. So go back up one more. Just up there for the message here. This one, the attachments on this. Just keep going up higher. It's part of this one. Yeah, just scroll up a bit more. A bit more. A bit more. Keep going until you see the attachments. Here we go.
Oh yeah, okay.
So click that view as HTML or download one of them, one or other.
That was the logo. Here comes the reply.
So this, I think, should be the emails.
This one, yeah.
No.
Am I going down through this?
This is part of it, but then there's stuff missed out. So let's check another one.
It has the paint dried, yeah.
So
but actually, this is a really good example of how tenacious you've been, because this is just one of them, and you've
good. Well, this attachment here. So do show all attachments. So you can just click that blue link first, because there's some hidden there. There we go. So we've got the whole lot. So have a look at the third one down first.
This one. This one. Okay.
Right, okay. Now this is good.
Wow.
This is one of the good things. So this here is what was accidentally missed off originally. And this is what was being compiled. So a consultant who is employed for national security infrastructure expertise has been asked. Well, in fact, this was the thing that we saw in the emails. We'll have to find in a moment. Was the email chain started off with this consultant? So this consultant, whose job is to get raiding, started off saying, "Can I have some impactful data?" Meaning scary data, scary. So he'd asked for the scary data, and as part of this, the final result. So the CAA haven't written this. This has been written by the Home Office and their consultant for scariness to put directly into the consultation. So this here was to manipulate us all into going, oh, we're all so bad, we must take this read. So have a read of it. But the point of this is, if you look at it, it's doing bullet points of drones are so scary because. And a lot of this will be they've had one instance, or there's a suspicion as much as anything else. But you could say, you could do bullet points of this, like of cars. Every day, people commit robberies.
Here's the bullet list.
Yes, this is the one here. You could do every day, there's a rape committed, facilitated by somebody being able to drive in a car. Every day, there's a burglary committed because facilitated by somebody.
Something happened because of beer. Yes.
Yeah. So, and you could do the same, but even with fireworks, you could go every year, X number of police personnel and fire service personnel are injured because of people maliciously setting off fireworks at them. Every year, so many hospital admissions are because of fireworks. And you could do exactly the same list we're getting thrown at us here. And I say with other stuff, cars, knives, anything else, it'd be far, far more serious. We'd be talking murder, manslaughter, rape, blah, blah, blah.
I'm at a loss here, though. This is supposed to vilify. If this is supposed to vilify drones, then why are the things reports drones being used to conduct criminal reconnaissance? Drones being used to record drug exchanges and reconnaissance of rival gang premises. So this sounds like the sort of thing the police would be doing, doesn't it?
Well, none of that, Bruce. These people doing this are really going to use RID, aren't they? They're really going to put RID on.
Absolutely. There'll be a special version for them, which is broadcast even further. And they'll take it on the chin and say, we have a responsibility to be compliant. We can't go breaking all the rules, just the ones that
Yes. We comply in every other way except for the worst.
We'd hate to have that on our record. Didn't use RID during the commission of a crime.
Absolutely, yes.
There's a few here we need to point out as well, because the one here that irks us, because we've discussed it on this show, is the drones flights around live crime scenes. The CAA's own rules, as we've discussed, mean you can do this. There are situations where you can. There's plenty where you can. So to do a flap, this is an issue. It's only an issue because the police are making an issue of it. Let's be quite clear about that. You know, when it's general routine police procedure, a reporter putting a drone up to record it, there should be no issue there. We should be having that in a democracy. So that third one up from the bottom, I've got an issue with that straight off. You know, again, you're making drama. And then the fourth one up is that one instance of that one blow with his Mavic next to the hurricane. So we have an entire bullet point for one instance of something happening.
And for the second one up, you think, goodness me, shouldn't we be putting remote ID on boots or shoes? Because I'm pretty sure anyone stalking and harassing people is wearing shoes and boots.
Just gently flying. Yeah, just floating around. Yeah.
And again, you can say, as another thing, your normal AirTag things you can get these days, they've been used for stalking and they've been used for murder. So we have technologies every day where you could do a list like this that's scarier than what they've come up with drones.
What I find the most, they use the indistinct too, like malicious, criminal and negligent use of drones around the UK can have significant impact. Doesn't say it does have significant impact. It can, it could. And if you look at that consultation document, the number of times they've used the words could and should are mind-boggling. So presenting hyperbole as fact by using should. You know, this should contribute to
good line,
could
Bruce.
contribute 45 billion to the to the economy of the UK. Could, but there's no guarantees. It's just plucked something out of their backside and said, well, you throw this against the wall and see if it sticks. That's not good enough.
Yeah. Well, not a frightening thing, but an annoying thing. And so again, people argue me, and because people do, but they say we're fear-mongering. They say we don't know. Well, look, Ian has unearthed evidence. If they don't choose to look and see and follow the evidence of what's going on in the background, they're kind of some organisations are going to. Unfortunately, I'm saying the BMFA. The BMFA are getting very behind the drag curve, just like the bloody AMA did. And that really worries me, because the BMFA are a much better organisation than the AMA, and unfortunately they are just trusting the people that are saying, oh no, it'll be all right, we're going to do this, and people are already saying, oh, it's okay, we'll be okay at our BMFA sites. But it's no, hang on guys, in America they said only 4,000. Does that still stand, that 4,000 thing? Or
as far as I'm aware, they've only issued about 2,000 something, nearly 3,000 I think at the moment. But and also this is the problem. It doesn't. That's the end of the hobby, because most people are not going to take up the hobby after watching a YouTube video. They see someone flying at the local park and enjoying it, and they go and have a word in a chat. Oh yeah, and then people get interested. They're not going to traipse 30 miles out into the countryside to a grassy field to watch a bunch of old men with nitro trainers doing circles. It has to be part of everyday life. And if you're going to compartmentalize all this into these little freers, then there'll be no new entrance into the hobby. It's growing out already, but it will just die.
Well, it's back to 12-year-old me again on the hill and the slope. My nearest official BMFA places would have been in the towns of Yeovil or Taunton, which would have been, they're both about equidistant. They're both about 15 miles away. 12-year-old me would not have been able to get there. It's simple. I wouldn't have been able to.
Gary, can you put up Cliff Field's comment?
The
one that says, I'll need a set of rules about the timing of FOIA Act.
This one.
Now, with this one here, Cliff, they're supposed to come back in around about 20 days, but you won't be surprised to know that some freedom of information have taken me 1 year, 2 years. I might have even had one that's gone on for 3 years. So yes, it's supposed to be 20 days, but it's down to the goodwill and how professional the organisations are. So, like we say, West Yorkshire Police have been generally very good. They're just a bit uneasy about letting the video out. Which is a general police issue. They're always concerned with video. They always think you're up to something, even if you're not. They've been good. To be fair, the CAA are generally being good, apart from a few touchy subjects like Gatwick. DFT are very poor. I mean, the DFT had a few they were supposed to answer this month, and they realised they were going to fall just before the 5th anniversary. So with all of those, they kicked them into January. Said, we need to consider the public interest before we answer, and we'll need another 4 weeks to do that, or something along those lines. So,
point of order, Louis. Control line has been dragged into this.
It's just a tethered drone, Louis. It's just a tethered drone.
It's not the answer. It's not the answer, Louis. And Johnny, it's well, the trouble is, I'm going because we've been ranting about this for 3 or 4 years for America, RID, and nobody listened, and we are watching it. I'm watching it happen again, but it's worse in the UK. What people don't realise is, with the network remote ID element of it, it will stop your aircraft getting airborne. If you haven't got that digital permission to fly, you're not flying, and that's what's going to happen there.
I don't see how they're going to enforce that. That would be interesting, because if I'm flying an Arducopter airframe, I don't see how they can do that. I don't see how the remote ID.
Well, they can, because it'll be between the receiver and your flight controller.
Will it? My receiver.
Yeah.
So
it'll be a separate device. It'll be a separate device in between your receiver and your flight controller, or forget the flight controller if it's just a standard model aircraft, and it will just kill your receiver as killing your receiver would kill your flight controller.
And DJI built it in because they suck up to everybody.
You see,
DJI have got no choice, though, unfortunately.
No. I don't. Okay.
No, it'll if you lost a signal to your receiver in your standard setup, it's not going to let you do anything, is it? If it says lost link from your normal transmitter, so that's how it's going to kill it, and you're going to have to be it's going to have to be connected to the internet. And if you're outside of that and flying, because the other thing is, Ian, you'll fly where the Bluetooth reception is. But if you get caught in the middle of nowhere, then you'll be in trouble.
This comment, what they're doing is there are a few exemptions you can apply. So you can say it's policing or it's national security. They've pulled the national security card on one of them. In fact, they've done one, but I've never had before, which is basically saying that there's one that's exception around if like a counter-terrorist organisation's involved within the document that they've got, and basically, so they apply what's called the public interest test, which isn't. It's our protection interest is what they really apply. What they say is, we realise that it would be good for the public to know this information. However, we feel that the public would be put at risk if they were to know how incompetent we might have been. That's basically what it always is. And then they always find, or by accident, that the public interest just isn't served by them releasing the information. So what you have to do after that is you have to go to the ICO. Now, unfortunately, the ICO, when it comes to like policing, they're not so bad when it comes to like your councils and the like. When it comes to police, they generally give them the benefit of the doubt. So the police say, well, this will stop us policing. They think, oh, well, they must be being genuine. When unfortunately, we know it's not always the case. And they tend to fall on their side. So after that, if the ICO don't fall in your favour, you've then got to go on to a tribunal. And this is what, to get through the ICO bit takes, well, usually it's a minimum 9 months. It's 9 to 12 months. If you're going ICO and then you're going on to tribunal, you know, you could be adding another 6, another 12 months on it. So you end up turning something that should be 20 days. And that's how it ends up being 1-2 years.
Now, Johnny and John are saying, and Louis have got workarounds. Now, I think it's important for us to remember we are all old duffers. Even you, dear viewer, I'm afraid you've self-identified as a duffer. And we know the ways around these things. But we must consider new entrants, new people coming into this. And just the very thought of it is a barrier to entry. Yeah, until we all shuffle off this mortal coil, we will know ways around it. But it's going to deter people coming in. that's when Cliff guilty as charged. It definitely is. But more than that, it doesn't look. If we had a device that improved safety around in the whole aviation and airspace sense, then I would not disagree with it. If it's increasing safety, I'm A for a way. But this has nothing to do with safety, and so I'm afraid
they have
I'm out.
now gone back to the security aspect. It's all about security now, national
It's
security.
all about
But
yes.
it's interesting though. If they hook this up to Sapient and we get a coronal mass ejection or a solar flare, and all these drones suddenly appear to be flying at massive speeds and things, it'll be just like the electricity company in the UK that's been overbilling people by thousands and thousands of dollars in the last couple of days, won't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, and Louis is so right. But that's the ridiculousness of it, isn't it? There's so many false flaws, false positives that could come out of this. We're relying on systems that fall over if it gets very sunny, as you exactly say.
In fact, what a great way to vilify somebody, get their remote ID registration number and then start spewing out all sorts of illegal flights, spew out illegal flights. They'll get all the fines and the prosecutions and everything, and then they've got to prove that it wasn't them, because the burden of proof isn't on the prosecution these days, it's on the defendant. It would be such an easy way to get people with drones into big trouble. Perhaps your competition if you're working commercially.
I mean,
Yes.
Here's the thing, and I think all of us will kind of go with this. If they tell us the truth why they want it as well, right, and don't be dishonest about it, it makes it a little bit better for us to go, okay, you're being honest, okay, fine. But, like Gary says, if it's about safety, well, then we're all for that. But security, this is not even for security. RID is not for security. It's actually, because it's got so many security flaws, it's worse than Swiss cheese.
It's kind of about security. It's a different meaning of security. It's these paranoid people in the Home Office and that, for them to
The
feel
Department of Paranoia.
Yes, the paranoia.
we need a badge for that.
Gary, this starts at the bottom, scroll all the way down. This is what people really need to look at and consider.
Which
and this
bit
is
you
what's
were
made
at?
for the US. You can't get stuff back, freedom of information, quite as fast as this. So the very bottom one, so it's just there, but just above the bit at the bottom. Yeah, that's it. So this is now, this one here was funny. You notice the from address on this is completely redacted, so we had no idea who it was from. Now this wasn't. It was funny. You notice the from address on this is completely redacted, so we had no idea who it was. There's a bit of an echo back there from me. So this particular one, this was because in their address book, completed it out to whoever it was, so it would have given the name away. But so I did a freedom of information for this. So this is the Bringer Partners consultancy. So we can see here they're asking for, and the bottom line is the key one: impactful data. So they are the ones that have started this chain off of saying, will you find us the scary stats, basically?
Yeah. And they're in with, I've forgotten how, Marizzi, Morelli, I've forgotten how to say their name. They're in with a consulting company from Switzerland, and their motto is Switzerland first. And so the UK is being dragged around by the nose by a Swiss consulting company. And that's not, I'm sounding a bit Brexity. That's not right, though. It's not right. Why have the CIA chosen to go with a Swiss consulting firm?
I don't know. It makes you wonder if it is all the CIA. I think the Home Office have played a part. I mean, look here.
Yeah.
Everyone looks at this at the top. Look who the to list is. It's Home Office, Home Office, Home Office, Counter-Terrorist Policing Headquarters, Met Police. And this shows you the interest, because if this was a passing interest from the Home Office, it'd be one bloke. Now here we've got 3 members of the Home Office, 1 counter-terrorism, and a consultant. That is a lot of staff on this. That is they're clearly interested in getting this RID pushed through to the CAA. So as we go through this, you'll see by the time it gets to the top, that's when it ends up with the DFT and CAA. So this is the top of it. So you'll see it's that DFT one finally when it gets to the top.
Yeah, it's
You can see Baringa there in the app.
Baringa,
on
yeah,
that particular one.
Baringa, and all I can ever think about now with that is Bazinga. You know the I forgot what that program's called. But, you know, the Bazinga t-shirts. My son, my 23-year-old's got one of those Bazinga t-shirts. That's all I can think of when I see Baringa. So Ian's been doing some amazing work. Why are all you Kipari? Louis, sadly, you're right. I hate for you to be right, but you are exactly
one thing
right.
Is the surveillance systems at the moment aren't all connected. They're mainly in the private sector. Stuff isn't all connected together, and it's not saying, you know, that's Ian walking down the street eating a Gatwick cake.
On a horse with a sword, with a bird on his shoulder. I mean, because that would trigger all the... And again, I've said it to Ian, but I don't think he really believes me, and I've said it twice now in this, I think. If we told the horse owners that this system was looking for horses, a horse and hound would go ballistic. And, well, people on a horse with a shotgun, whoop, 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 they go ballistic, and they're a far bigger lobby than drones will ever be. Hooray for you, list cameras and vans. Well, yeah, I don't think, and for me, and I'll stop ranting and I'll have another sip of beer. I think it's important to detach the idea that this is about detecting drones. It's not about detecting drones. It's about creating more sensors in the land and having more sensor information.
I think
that's what I think.
I think it's the development cost as well, because the thing to consider is this, because it started with the Ministry of Defence. Remember, this is a battlefield system initially, and there just hasn't been the means for them to actually put a system out there, test it properly. So they've done some trials. So basically, these are just, they get people together, they do a quick test over a few weeks with NATO partners, and that's all that's been done. So there isn't so you consider they've been in these millions and millions, and it could be tens of millions spent, and somebody somewhere is having to justify that money. So you have to have a system that's actually out there, and you go, well, we've got this fully working system, and it's done really well, and then you've also got a package you can then sell, because you can go, so if they have the drone database, they can go, oh, well, we've got this drone database, it's on the technology, and they can sell it. But the thing is as well, there isn't that much on the AI side, those particular modules written to date. So it's a great opportunity to say, well, let's write the code to import an external database with people's details on. Let's write the AI bit that's doing people in this position, this X number of meters away, the pilot's here, the drone's here, this kind of thing, counting distances from one object to another, putting all that in. That's all going to have to be bespoke. And if we end up, we'll end up paying for all that, and then they've actually got something they can deploy elsewhere and say, well, we can put this on to a CCTV system. And in fact, we don't have to pay for all this development, because we can just change the metadata and just chuck the same code in. That's what I see as I'm thinking it, because obviously I'm from a development and testing background. So I've worked on government systems as well, and I've had security clearance, and I guess I'm never ever going to get that again now, because I've been going on about what we're seeing here. But you can read what the MOD said their intent for it is, and the purpose of the system. It is to real time look at all this data, collect it all, and process it all from surveillance, all considering the surveilled as threats within it, and that we know just from the DSTL documents and the Home Office documents, they want to use this for everyday policing. So they want to do the facial recognition and put it into that. And we know there'll be general pushback from that. There always has been. And it's correct that there should be. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people with the budgets and that are saying, well, let's get these things, let's trial them, and we'll see. And we're seeing with the Department for Work and Pensions, they're now quite saying clearly we're using this. And despite people not being happy, the government's like, tough, it's happening. So the only way you stop these happening is you elect another government that says they won't be doing it. But then again,
we must just say Merry Christmas to Mark, who's got to go because the sapient people are grabbing him by his shoulder right now. Have a lovely Christmas, mate. Look after yourselves. We'll see you after the Christmas thing. Which
Yeah,
this should have been the Christmas one. Oops.
Yeah, everyone have a good Christmas. See you all next year.
All right, mate. Cheers. Cheers. Yeah. Oops. We should have done the. Well, because your cell phone cameras drones more of a threat. Cliff, MOTs for drones, that would excite you. And I think, Cliff, I really think we're just being scapegoated to get more sensors in. I genuinely think that. Go with the blue bob hair, going to be a legit members. No, Space 1999 was rubbish. It was rubbish. It was rubbish.
And I've got to admit, actually, it was pretty rubbish. It's just the Eagle design as a spacecraft was brilliant.
Oh yeah. Like an old bit of girder with a couple of bits sticking off. Yeah.
Being rubbish was the best bit about it.
Yeah, well, it was all actually pretty good. But as I said in the comments, Joe 90, that spinning thing, that used to frighten me. I tell you, I used to be afraid of that.
I have to say the hardest thing of this episode has been the fact that I've had that cake next to me the entire time, and that was actually genuinely delicious.
Yeah, there we are. It's what are we at 0020. The helicopter's still hovering over Gatwick, and they're still not finding anything. It wasn't tonight. It was tomorrow that the heli-med helicopter went past in the background, or was it tonight?
The what? Sorry.
The medical helicopter went past in the back.
That was tomorrow.
Tomorrow, wasn't it? Yeah.
Just for the benefit of the viewers, before we even got this date, me and Gary roped in some nice bloke somewhere to grab historical ADS-B data, and this actually, as I didn't realise it, this is a real difficult task, and it can be quite expensive as well, because generally, when you go to your site radar and you get the stuff now, that data is available. But if you want something historically, you've got to pay money for it. So yeah, we were looking at
we don't pay no stinking money for nothing. Yeah.
Well, you've got it free, but that's what I'm saying. It's a nice So we were looking at the data, but what we didn't realise as well was just how much, because you think, well, Gatwick was closed down, but there were still tons and tons of air traffic going about, and it was trying to make head and the tail of it. And then there's the fact that the helicopters don't all have. See, this is stuff I all learned from you, Gary, when we were doing this. Don't all have ADS-B on. They have an older system called Mode S, and that only pings every so often. So what these systems do is they look at the ping here and the ping there. They extrapolate with the time, and they guess the route there. So you get
multilaterated. It's called multilateration.
Oh yeah, it pings off number of sensors, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It kind of triangulates where it is and works out that way. So there's some really, really clever stuff that goes on to try and work out whether that air traffic is, because the systems that are out there in real use are really quite antiquated. So we were finding this particular MPAS helicopter didn't have ADS-B. And we'd even thought then, even before we saw what we'd seen now, well, we knew the helicopter was there. And we also knew, wait a minute, this is coinciding with one of the sightings where they said the drone was there. So it looks like, again, the helicopter itself, and which isn't the helicopter's crew fault. They're doing the job they're asked to do, and it
was an air ambulance, and it flew across.
There was that as well.
Back of the stage, as it was, it flew along the back. And,
there were two things going on. So you say the air ambulance was in the background, but so either one of those would have been seen by people on the ground, and those people on the ground as well have been told in good faith, if you see a drone, report it. So they're seeing this light go across the sky. They think, well, drone, report it. So that's why it's ended up such a muddle and such a mess. Is you have the people in the sky flying over and around, and then you have the people on the ground looking up, and they're reporting it up, saying, "Oh, drone's there." The guy up in the helicopter there in the MPAS is looking down and going, "There's no drone there. What's he on about? Is he tripping?" That's basically what's going on.
And then don't forget there was the crane as well that was lit in is it Crawley? Crawley, isn't it? Yeah. There was a crane as well in the back. So yeah, I mean, but once it is the chicken licking story on whatever that story is. Yeah, Chicken Little, that's it. Chicken Licking's our chicken chain here.
That's something like you're thinking about KFC.
That's what it is here. That's what it is. but it once, and people can't be blamed once been whipped up into a bit of a hysteria for just ringing up and saying stuff. You can't blame people for doing that. The press were it's like, oh, this pilot must see a drone at 1,500 meters. Yeah, Cliff needs a red card. Actually, he's talking too much sense. Here we are. Here's a red card. The whole, but we all knew that. We all knew that on the first night the weather was foul, and also we all know, and it's very, very sad to say, if it really was something nefarious and somebody wanted to do damage, it would have been done. It's a terrible thing to say, but that's what would have happened. Louis also has a 3D printed eagle here. Oh, you have to draw one or something, aren't they? Bloody hell.
It is worth adding, though, as I said earlier, it's really good going back and seeing not only us on this channel, but just wider in the drone community. You know, so many people at the time, you know, the first few hours, everyone was like, oh, you know, bad drone pilot, hope he gets arrested, blah, blah, blah. But after that, you know, by next morning, everyone's going, whoa, hang on a minute. The weather, the fact this isn't being filmed, it was really quite consistent, and it's good going back and seeing actually we understood we weren't having the wool pulled over our eyes, and it's a shame that the media didn't give more people that had knowledge about drones the airtime back at time, because if they had done, the right questions would have been asked, and we probably wouldn't have had all this sort of move on and let's not talk about it again attitude that we've had. I don't think it served anyone. In fact, I know that the likes of Brendan have brought this up as a point. He thinks, and I agree with him, and Philip's made this point as well, is that he thinks that a lot of airports have been sold systems that are actually pretty crap because they've been able to use the narrative, but at the same time, there hasn't been any learning that's gone out into the public domain. So when private companies are buying, they haven't got any guidance about how this came about. Because if they'd have known actually there wasn't a drone there, they could have thought, well, wait a minute, we need to have the right procedures, and all that could have been built up first. Well, I think we're probably getting to that now. Round, you know, there's backdoor routes where all that's kind of being disseminated out to authorities now, but it's taken longer than it should have done, and it's meant a lot of money's been spent that, you know, generally didn't have to be spent. I mean, we could have spent a lot more of. I mean, do you think about all this money we spend doing the panic, doing the everyone's doing their own different UTM and stuff? You could have just said, actually, we can learn from this that we overreacted, but we need to have a reaction to drones. No one disagrees with that. We'll say let's put the money into open sourcing a counter UAS system, make all the sensors, all the software, and actually put that out, and then it becomes so cheap that all the airports and infrastructure can actually utilize it, and the taxpayer gets value for money, and other countries could even utilize it. You know, we could have actually made something really positive out of it, where we've unfortunately
it speaks to. I'm sorry, did I stop you speaking there, Brucey? Sorry, you can go if you want. I'm not sure you were. Well, it speaks to how appalling the low-level air picture is everywhere in the world, because they've spent money to build radar systems to see airliners coming in, you know, at altitude and whatever, and they haven't cared about the low-level airspace systems. So, as a manned or crewed, as I should say, these days, operator, I've received a very, very poor low-level service from people like Nats, who have been given the golden ticket to run the sky, and yeah, there should be a better low-level picture. And I hope I'm going to tell Richard to watch this bit. I hope they deploy their towers around hotspots for airspace incursions, and just reveal just how many airspace incursions there actually are from crewed aircraft every day in hotspots in the UK, and say, Nats, come to the party. all the legacy sensor manufacturers come to the party. Let's get a better low-level air picture. I've definitely gone into rant mode, but we're coming from we're digital assets. We're digital things that can pop up on any system easily. Just write a little bit of code and we'll appear on the screen. Come on, crude aviation, catch up. Anyway, rant ends. Bruce, say something quick. Help me, Bruce. Help.
Something quick.
Yeah, excellent. Good. There wasn't a rollout of a system was pushed back due to it using 5G and interference. Yeah, that was the radars, isn't
Radio
it?
altimeter.
That's it, radio altimeter. Yeah. I've forgotten what that did. What was that pushback on that? What did they want to do, Bruce? I've forgotten.
I think they slowed down the rollout to give the airlines time to update their technology.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, rollout.
But only in areas where it was near airports.
It's 5G. That's right. 5G interfered with radio altimeters. They're just, as people have said, there's been no spectrum allocated for electronic conspicuity other than ADSB. So all the other stuff, FLARM and all the stuff that's operating in the ISM bands, it's not in protected spectrum. And so how can we have a completely conspicuous sky if you're all using stuff that can be spoofed?
Remote ID.
Remote ID. Well, track anything. Yeah, the hills. Yeah, that's what Richard and Altitude Angel are trying to do with their corridors. But then, unfortunately, as much as I love what they're trying to do, they're facing an uphill battle because the legacy vendors are going to try and push that back as hard as they can.
Yeah, also it's the costing, isn't it? With remote ID, the cost falls on the users. With that system that Richard's got, it falls on the airspace managers.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's they've got a fantastic system that is fair and equitable because the sky doesn't belong to anybody. It's very, how do governments can scream and shout, but they can't stop me going into the sky. They can stop me on the road. That's quite easy because the coppers will be there.
You've not heard of missiles then?
Well, yeah, I suppose there is. Yeah, but that's all right. Then if we want to play that card, then we can do, to definitely get the channel banned, we can do what's happening in the Gulf. We can chuck very low-cost systems at stuff, and then the opposition will chuck millions of dollars worth of equipment back at them. So they're forcing a spend, aren't they, the Hutus? They're forcing militaries to spend and spend and spend and spend.
It's never been a better time way of winning. Being in the drone industry, it's a license to print money these days. And did you see the USA wants to ban the export of USA components that are used in the creation of DJI drones?
Oh, that's right. Do you remember? So that's the no components, really.
Yeah.
The zero. That to me speaks more to the conceit of we believe we invented everything than anything else. It's like they're not using your technology. Your technology is crap, mate.
And the thing is, this is the largest capitalist country in the world saying we can't compete, we'll regulate. I mean, capitalism is about competition. So you're saying we don't need competition. We're a capitalist society, but we'll just regulate our way to the top by stopping other people from getting parts they need to build their drones, if that's the case.
Well, they don't need the parts, and well, it's to the narrative of blue, green, red UAS in America, where the manufacturers of the blue systems are lobbying as hard as they can because their products are crap, and the emergency services. Look, at the end of the day, if I get rescued, I would rather be rescued. I don't care where it's coming from. If I need rescuing, just please send whatever.
Rather be rescued alive and then recovered later.
Then yeah.
The thing is, the interesting thing is they're driving China to increase, because look, they stopped FLIR, so China developed its own infrared cameras.
Yeah,
and Huawei,
excellent ones.
Yeah, Huawei were blocked, so now they've developed their own chipsets and their own operating systems. As soon as you say we're not going to provide that, then that just incentivizes the country to become self-sufficient. Then you've got zero control at all. You don't even know how much of the stuff they're using because you're not monitoring supply chains.
Yeah, and that's the well, that Huawei thing and all that speaks to the 4G layer. That's what they're really worried about with DJI and Autel. It's the 4G layer that China developed, and the other Ian traced all that out. And so yeah, there are issues, but at the same time, I'll say fair play to China. If you know, so there's the UK's trying to copy them with Sapient, and they'll give us a manual for no, you should have done it like this. Nice try. Ian thought they'd be congratulating us. I reckon China was saying, nice try, but you should have done this, or you could have done that. And fair play to them. All fair.
North Korea to the rescue. North Korea to the rescue. There's another example. Yeah. They've developed a whole lot of technology because they were blocked off from the rest of the world, although I suspect Russia's providing them with a bit of backdoor stuff at the moment in return for some munitions and weaponry. But yeah, you can't stop this stuff. Knowledge will be free. You can't block. You know.
You're talking like my 23-year-old. That's exactly what he says. Knowledge will be free.
I'm younger than I look.
Yeah, exactly. The China chipsets are a fraud. I don't think they are, Rev. I don't think they are a fraud. I think they're very good, if not better.
Only if you buy them from AliExpress.
It's like somebody said the other day, I saw somebody, yeah, exactly. Somebody said, I've never bought anything from AliExpress. But anyway, somebody said, oh, it's got to be wrong. Look, the cameras are made by Hasselblad. How can America stop Hasselblad? It's like, you've not been keeping up with the news, have you?
Hasselblad, that Chinese company owned by DJI.
That'll be the very one. The very one. So it does disappoint me that people don't follow properly what's going on.
Well, that's why the powers that be work. They keep people so busy just trying to pay the bills. They don't have time to follow the minutiae and the details that are going on behind their backs.
I suppose that's it. And you know, and again, we'll come back to it. We've ranted about RID, we've ranted about this, we've ranted about that, and we perhaps there is, perhaps I'm pumping a bit of conspiracy with Sapient at the moment, but I do think it's part of the loop, and Ian is uncovering the evidence that shows that other people are pushing narratives and getting regulators to say things that maybe they wouldn't.
It's Christmas, isn't it? Do you think that Star of Bethlehem might have been a drone?
But traditionally it's been a UFO, hasn't it, for years and years?
Times change, Gary. Keep up with the times.
Yeah, exactly. They're not called UFOs anymore, are they? That's why.
No. Latest seen at Gatwick, that very drone.
Yeah, exactly. For years it's been a UFO, isn't it?
So what's Father Christmas bringing? Are you getting a pony, Gary?
Yeah.
Have you been a good boy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's worth adding now you mentioned that. The hard thing today is, you'll notice, Gary, that there's a political publication called Spite. Now, I didn't even know they were doing this. And this is one thing that we can all pat ourselves on the back for, is there's enough being put out about Gatwick in the public domain now that a reporter, without even reaching out, has actually gone through the stuff. And they put the story out that said there wasn't a drone at Gatwick. It was the authorities panicking. And has done that from looking at all the information themselves and coming to their own conclusions. So that's out on the internet right now, which was really good to see. It's a good read. There's only one issue in it. They've said Army rather than RAF, which has been a common thing because of that old drone dome bollocks the Daily Mail put out. But other than that, it's absolutely spot on. So it was just great to see that someone had done a 5th anniversary piece and then been able to put the bits together. So that says we're having an effect, which I'm pleased about. But yes, what was going on about was because of that, then suddenly there's all these anti-vaxxers and climate deniers going, look, they lied about the drone. They must be lying about this and that. Like, leave my stuff alone, man. Man's got freedom of information behind it. Don't hijack it, please.
Was it Spite or Spike? I'm not trying to find it. I did read it.
with the D.
Spiked. I'll find it. I'll find it and put it out there.
Spike-online.com.
Here we are. Right, I'll put it in our chat. It was. Yeah, no, it was. That's what I mentioned earlier. It was very, very good. And it's kind of, it is what we all have thought and known, isn't it? So look, 1 hour 39. What else have we seen before we go? Bruce, you've been out putting X's all over the place. Have they come and got you yet?
Well, in the background, hang on.
Busted. There you go. Yeah.
Video coming out soon.
But on a different, more serious note, how's your health?
No, it's good now. I'm walking a lot now. Doing my exercise. Ooh, there you go.
Future facts. Cool, guys. Future facts. The bloody trouble is, again, you need a red card because that's unfortunately what happens now, isn't it? It is
perception is reality.
It is absolutely remarkable. What a time to be alive. What a time. No, it's good that you're feeling better, and don't let the bastards grind you down, isn't it?
Well, they won't.
That's the
They
main
won't.
thing. No, good. And
Besides, getting arrested make great video.
yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose if your channel still exists, mate.
Yeah,
if you're still there, yeah. Otherwise, you'd have to get arrested on there and get me bounced as well.
Yeah.
So, and then, so what have we actually? Oh, I know. Earlier on, somebody mentioned. Let's have that here. Let's just say the. Where
I
was
was going to say there has been a bit of other drone news. I've even seen myself, and there was something earlier. I was thinking, oh, we should mention that, but obviously we've gone down the full Gatwick thing today. So
we have over air. This was mentioned earlier. All I'll say about any of these things is that, to me, they're just massively complex.
Yeah,
and
it's a double osprey.
It's actually, yeah, twice the likelihood of getting grounded. The
trouble is not design is the correct thing you want to do to have something that's going to fly for a decent time. You don't want it ever to be running like a quadcopter because it's just not very efficient.
Yeah.
Anything that's like this, I always think, well, if anything is going to be commercially viable, it's that kind of things. But as we know, none of this is ever simple, and it's still, when you look at that, I mean, as you always say, Gary, all these things are always 3D renders and all this. Very few of it's ever here it is developed, and even fewer, even when they are developed, do we ever see them shown with the videos with them actually transitioning in these kind of moves. So we kind of need to see all that fit together before you think and look at someone and think, actually, yeah, that's viable.
And that thing's going to be helly noisy with those big props and all the interaction between the rotor washers, and it's going to require bigger than average vertiport. So why not just use a helicopter?
Yeah, exactly. That is if it's, here we are. Have that.
In the meantime, Gary, can you put in a comment from Rev B0?
Hang on, I'll do that.
You remember Max Headroom?
Oh yeah, Max Headroom. Yeah, of course.
I'm glad this is mentioned because I've actually been watching Max Headroom again in the last few weeks. I like to get out old retro TV shows and check them out again because that was actually good and off air too soon. Really, it was a nice cyberpunk look at the future and quite a cynical one. In a similar way,
but people, won an award. He won an award, didn't he, as being the best CGI or something like that?
Matt Frewer or someone, was it?
Yeah. Canadian. He was actually a genuinely funny guy as well.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's been mentioned there because it came round recently. Was the anniversary of the actual timeline for that, if it had actually happened? Because I saw it appear on Twitter, and I thought, oh, that's it's kind of nice to have these little callbacks to sci-fi history, and also a bit with that particular show. It was always very. It kind of observed some of the things we see now about the manipulation of information and those kind of fears, and again that had a lot around public being observed and the CCTV and knowing where people were and all that kind of thing. So
just read 1984; it's all there.
yes. Oh well, I'm more for Terry Gilliam's Brazil, which is which is like that, but obviously it's a bit more tongue in cheek. But that does capture. I think that's a good one for Gatwick, and I want to go and watch it again because really, what you've got on there is them not being malicious. It's just about systems falling down and picking the wrong individuals and things escalating out of control.
Have you seen Idiocracy?
Yeah, that's brilliant. That scares me about how accurate it is, especially when you've got everyone drinking the pot, because that is prime all day long. And I'm like, how is that happening to society? But it really is. It's tragic.
What a time to be alive.
It's always better to be alive than dead.
Well, yeah,
so they tell me.
You have a fair point, well made. It's just a lack of thinking. I am showing off, but in 2010, when the head of the CAA, UK CAA at the time, flew into Farnborough Air Show, he flew in himself in a Spitfire. Cool. We were allowed to fly at Farnborough Air Show in front of 75,000 people, and they addressed the risks. They looked at it, and they even let me fly there. So they must be very risk averse. But for some reason, it's all. And unfortunately, those guys, they've retired and stuff like that. And now I don't know. It's an Idiocracy, it's a superb documentary. Yeah, that people in charge just don't want to take any form of risk now, and are holding the industry back. In fact, not holding it back. They're putting a boot on its neck and holding it down. And we need to move from that, because systems and stuff since 2010 are so much better. Everything is so much better now.
War is peace, freedom is slavery. Interesting to note, in Australia, these AI fake, commercial things that people are putting out, pushing crypto schemes and everything. They've even used the treasurer of the federal government's image. And Dick Smith, Dick Smith, the entrepreneur from Australia. Yeah. He's come out because they've used his likeness to promote these things. And he said, what's going wrong? Why isn't the government, why aren't they holding these social media platforms accountable for this? They're aiding and abetting people who are defrauding the public, but they take no action. Is it because Zuckerberg and these corporations are now so powerful that the government dare not touch them for fear of repercussion? And I wonder if that's not the case, and that this is where we are. We've got a few select groups and individuals who are so powerful that if they say, do this, clear all these toys out of the sky, the governments jump to it and do that. I mean, we've gone to the point now where power is in the hands of such a few people that the whole democracy thing is just an illusion. It's not even governments that have the power anymore. It is just a few select, very rich people. Because look, I see that guy from Nikola, the electric vehicle truck company,
yes,
he's been sentenced to prison for fraud, for promising stuff he couldn't deliver. Well, Elon Musk has done exactly the same thing. Where's the Roadster that he took $100,000 deposits for 4 or 5 years ago? He gets away with it because he's rich and powerful. He's one of these elite, the alumni. But other people who do exactly the same things get thrown in jail. And same with that girl, the Theranos girl. She made promises she couldn't deliver on, like Elon Musk. She's in prison. Elon's untouchable because he's Elon. And so what else is going on that we don't know about with these very, very powerful people like Zuckerberg who have all this control and power and become untouchable by governments? And it's really worrying.
No, unfortunately, I can't disagree with you, and I always want to disagree with you. It is very strange. I thought that chat with the truck, I thought that was pretty amazing, and he only had to pay $1 million, and he gets chucked in prison. Okay, well, he did do a bad thing. He did do a bad thing.
Hasn't Musk done bad things? Good grief.
Yes, no, exactly, yes. There's plenty of worse been done. In the UK right now, there's... Baroness Moan, who has actually was a larger payout for PPE stuff. Terrible fraud.
She was not in the least bit connected with her husband.
No. Don't bash the United Savior for freedom and liberty. Yeah, absolutely. Of course he is. And like every poor boy done well story, it started with nothing. There was absolutely no money from rubies at all, none at all there. And the apartheid system, none at all. No money at all. And it's Ian's big thing was the self-driving cars. You've always banged on about how rubbish all that was, and look at that unpacking itself at the minute. Was it recall of 2 million cars or something like that?
Yeah, I think really the recall's not as big a thing as it sounds, and that it's a software update album. It's the fact that it always seems to be that the force that a lot of the stuff they're asked to do is often common sense, and there's just this general pushback that there's too much going on with the autonomous cars of blame the driver. And that's one good thing with the UK. The Department for Transport here has got that quite. To be honest, I wanted to actually. They had a consultation at the start and quite a sensible one, and I wanted to put into that, but obviously I'm too busy doing with the Gatwick stuff. I haven't got time to put myself on a remote, but I did want to have a word put into that because having observed it, I did want to say, but thankfully there's obviously been some really common sense people that have put the thoughts in, and what they've said is the liability is not being taken by the passenger in this country. If your car claims to be autonomous and is driving and it kills somebody, the manufacturer, the software coder that's put that in, they're responsible. And that's the way it should be. And that's the only way this is going to get safe. If you can keep saying it's the driver's fault, we told them it was full self-driving. If you say something's full self-driving, marketing, the description, and again, the UK said you can't use a description like that unless that's what it is. So you can't say it's a driver assist, because the excuse that keeps being made, but it's a rubbish excuse, is it's a beta. Well, that's a crap excuse for one. And then you're saying, oh, it's only driver assist. Well, it's no good saying to somebody it's only this after it's killed them. Your marketing up front should be, it should be something like autonomous driver assist or something like that. Something that just says, this is what it is. And then if the person misuses it, you can say, tough, it's your fault. But I'm just glad that we've said, no, if you're saying it's autonomous, you're responsible. And with that in mind, I've got a lot more hope and faith for the UK, although we'll have to see it in practice. And if there's ways of bending the rules and, getting around any, I hope there's not, but you won't know until we see it in practice.
It's a long way out, isn't it? I mean, truthfully, full autonomous driving.
Elon Musk said they've got full self-driving now. He can leave a parking lot in LA and drive in a parking lot in New York without touching the steering wheel. He told us 2017. It's ready now, he said. He's not in prison.
Yeah. Do not drink. Yeah, do not drink the radiator fluid. Again, red card for Cliff. Yeah, exactly. Well, but you don't, Cliff, in an electric car. But anyway, they do have radiators, don't they?
Some of them
have cool stuff. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes.
Except the Nissan Leaf, it just melts in the sun.
So, look, we've been going an hour 52. What else was there? I'm not sure there was anything else. Any more for anyone? Here we are. I knew it. I knew I'd get it out of it. Go on, Ian.
There was the court case for Extinction Rebellion, and I thought, oh, sod's law, this is falling around Gatwick again, so it might end up taking it off the news, but in the end it didn't, and I think it was because they got quite light sentences in the end. But basically, there was Extinction Rebellion that weren't happy about Heathrow Airport, and they did a few things, but amongst them, they were planning on putting drones up. They seen what had happened at Gatwick and thought, well, let's just copy that. But obviously this time with a difference of actually putting drones up rather than there being no drones.
Their schoolboy and schoolgirl error was not to use one of these to ring someone and say that was their error.
This remote ID will make it easier now. Yeah. Just spoof it. It's so much easier.
I think they actually did put some drones up.
They did. They did.
So they went through the court, so that evidence was put against them. So it was a case of these were the risks that they posed by doing it. But we'll see. I mean, maybe I've missed it in it, but I've tried looking on the stories, but they were mainly talking about the criminal damage to some glass or something. So it gave me the impression that they got away fairly lightly, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, they did, and we seem to forget that there was the Model Aircraft Club. It's when you come into Heathrow when you turn off that junction, there's a Model Aircraft Club to the north, about 600-700 meters up there, and it finally worked out. Oh, good, they fly model airplanes just there, and they stopped them. So Geeks footage, flying. Yeah, they flew on a place near that Model Aircraft Club, basically. But they got their message heard, didn't they? And if they got light sentences, but really, still, I haven't formulated a proper response to this plainly. But they were never going to do any harm, and they should have just called. If they just called, it would have had exactly.
Mind you, there's probably bigger penalties for using a phone to do that than actually flying the drone.
Do you know there might be if you
Telecommunications Act's pretty strong.
Exactly, Telecommunications Act. You could be right. You could be very, very right. But yeah, Geeks had it. It's unstoppable. Yes, I'm out. I'm puffed. I'm out. I've had a beer. It's not really working. No. I haven't had my little sleep before we do this. I've fallen into the habit of doing. In my granny nap, because my 6-year-old had his tonsils out, and he was hurting earlier, so he was still awake at 10:30. So I didn't have my granny nap, so that's no good at all.
Well, I'm going to say, I'm showing my age as well, because I actually had a nap. This is why I was like on, because I was having a nap. And when you have a nap, when you try and wake up, your body just doesn't want to wake up. Then it's like,
why am I on a panel filled with old men?
But this is going dangerously towards the territory, because we chat after we finished, and the other day all our chats was about, and the other Ian was there, all our chats was about old men's ailments. So that's all it was about.
A lot of talk of diuretics and nocturia.
I've read that book. Isn't that something to do with the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Something like that. Exactly. Off to Nocteria we go. Yes, something like that. I was drunk. Yeah. So look, let me wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I didn't think it, because weirdly I kind of forgot that Christmas is anyway. So Merry Christmas.
And remember,
everybody.
If you don't believe in Santa, all you get are socks and undies.
Oh, is that right? Oh, now I know the thing. God, there's a home truth there. Congratulations to our winners the winners last week, which was Brian and Thomas. You know what you won. Keep looking out for Philip Wonka. He will appear again, probably in the new year, because we've done this month's one. So there's a clue. It's probably in the new year early. Maybe even the 1st. Maybe you'll stay up all the day on the 1st. Thank you very much for joining us. Be safe wherever you are in the world. Have a lovely, lovely Christmas with your friends and family. And we look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday, when we'll all be eating turkey. Cheers for now, everyone. Look after yourselves. One click.